VFX footage. VFX footage. VFX footage. VFX footage. VFX footage.
Hello, good day and welcome to Freetown Television Network on Channel 35 and on Freetown Radio 90.4 FM. Well, this is the program The Views, your midday news and current affairs program, live from FTN on Channel 35 and on Freetown Radio 90.4 FM. This is how I'd like to welcome you all to the first edition of The Views for this week and also the first edition for the month of April. Today is the first day of April 2019, and in today's edition, obviously, we are going to talk about democracy, obviously, how democracy, the rate of democracy in our country, and of course, another gender-based group, side by side, they've been going around trying to launch the movement to see how they can help in the combat for gender equality in the country. Well, before that, viewers out there of FTN Channel 35 and on Freetown Radio, I would just like to bring in this breaking news for those who are in Freetown and those who are beyond Freetown. Maybe you've not been around the CBD, that's the Central Business District, so early this morning or during the course of the day. Today, the cotton tree, which is a very historical symbol of Sierra Leone or Freetown, is going to be relocated from the CBD. They will take it all the way to Upgon. That's the cotton tree. We all know the cotton tree. So if you're far away, that's going to be a very big event for people out there to relocate the cotton tree from the CBD. We want to use that space for other things, and then we take it to Upgon. I think there is a big space there for people to erect the cotton tree. Well, that's the breaking news from FTN this morning. Stay with me as you are going to get more information about news making headlines around the country. As today I told you we have topic about democracy, and we'll start first of all by that gender-based group that has come together to get a charter in Sierra Leone, and it's no other group but Side by Side. And over the weekend they've already launched, over the past weeks already, they've already launched the movement in Sierra Leone, Side by Side. Well, on more on that and then more on democracy, I have with me in the studio Reverend Kagbo, who is going to help me with the Side by Side movement and see what is it for Sierra Leoneans, and of course the National Commission for Democracy. Welcome to the program, The Views, Reverend Kagbo.
Thanks for hosting me.
Yeah, that's a fine one. Well, viewers, this is the handsome gentleman you see in the studio with me. Is a representative from Side by Side. And really, if I want to know more, what designation do you have Side by Side?
Well, during the launch of the movement, I served as the head of the strategic communication team.
Okay.
And that was part of the steering committee arrangement under the auspices of the Council of Churches in Sierra Leone. Of course, with support from the Christian Aid Sierra Leone.
Okay.
So, as part of that arrangement, I was the one that was there to coordinate all of the media activities. And by default, I have been talking to the press on issues pertaining to the movement.
Yeah.
It is already launched, and we're looking forward to its successful operations in Sierra Leone.
Yes. Well, Side by Side, according to my information, is a growing global movement pursuing transformational change for gender justice. As there are people of faith, there are faith leaders and faith-based organizations come together from across the world and with committed minds to peer together groups and then clean off the barriers to gender justice. They are also united. They believe that everybody is having their own belief in different dimension, different race, but then people are bound to live together as we are all made under this particular path. So therefore, side-by-side group is bringing faith leaders together to see how they can help to combat gender violence, and to see how gender can be well distributed. If I'm on the right track, Rev, I would like you to help me.
Yeah, definitely. What you've been doing is to identify the key objectives of setting up the side-by-side movement, and it's considered as a global movement of faith leaders. You bring people of faith together. Most of the time when we talk about religion or faith, we look at it from the angle of divergence, that people have practiced different faith. But with the side-by-side movement, we're saying that we, despite the differences in terms of the faith that you practice, or we can still come under one umbrella and talk about gender justice, in the sense that when God created us as human beings, be it a man or a woman, despite the roles that we perform, but God saw us as human beings, and He treated us as equals, not having not one being superior to the other. Of course, we understand that when you talk about a man, the man has got, as far as God is concerned, a certain role to play, the woman as well. But in the eyes of God, everybody is equal. And you take your time to look at the two major religions, especially in Sierra Leone. You look at Islam and Christianity. They speak in that direction, especially from their holy books. You take the Quran, it talks about gender justice. You take the Bible, it talks about gender justice. And so Christian Aid considered it necessary to see what they can do to utilize the platform, existing platform that faith leaders have been using. Take the church or the mosque, the pulpit or the mumbar. These faith leaders have been talking to millions of people, because it has been discovered by research that 85% of the world population has got one faith or the other. And in Sierra Leone in particular, it is believed that 100% we all believe one thing or the other. It's either you're a Muslim or a Christian, or a mix of the two in terms of traditional religion. And it's that kind of platform, that kind of voice, that this movement is trying to harness to ensure that we realize the positive dividends of gender justice. When you look at our situation in the country, you have a lot of tension happening in some homes. You talk about gender-based violence. You look at the disadvantage at times that is placed on the girl child, and even the disadvantage of that women experience. And most of the time they say men are the perpetrators. And we, as faith leaders, it's about coming together to say an end to all of such practices. When you look at the recent history of the country, we're talking about state of emergency in relation to rape and things like that. Religious leaders are now coming in to add their voice to the situation, to say, no, we need to correct what has been happening, what has been going wrong. And such attempt to correct this is based on what we already know in our holy books. You take the Quran, if you go to Al-Nisa, that is the 4th chapter in the Quran, it talks about the fact that God created man, and from the man the woman, and gave them responsibilities. And in fact, the man is expected to protect the woman and the rest of the family. If you go to Genesis, the same story is presented there. And throughout, right through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, attempt is made to present the situation wherein a man and a woman can exist side by side, and one not taking undue advantage over the other. But we see in the real world, the practices actually differ from what is recorded in the Word of God, be it the Quran or the Bible. And by this movement, we've decided that we want to let the world know that from the very beginning, the Bible did not speak about discrimination against women. The Quran did not speak about discrimination against women. Rather, both books have endeavored to create the parameters in terms of how men and women should coexist, and how boys and girls should be raised in the fear of God.
Now, yes, that's a fine one. We are expecting women and girls, obviously man and woman, to cohabit, to live together as equals. Yes, the Almighty God has already laid that platform through the religions that you stated. But then tradition is another key factor that is hindering this equality when you're talking about gender. And what role do you think side by side is ready to play to intervene into some of these traditions? Because there are a whole lot of examples where traditions separate a man from a woman. In so many cases, the tradition tend to overshadow the religion and the foundation, obviously. I don't know if there is any role to play to combat this situation.
But tell you, the situation calls for a lot of thinking and expressed through education to change mindset. Even with the Quran and the Bible, you have instances where people have given different interpretations in terms of what is already recorded, and presenting a picture as if the women or the girls are disadvantaged. But over time, with more research, more education, these things are changing. Let me give a classical example in the Bible. If you go to Numbers 27 verses 1 to 11, it presents a picture of inheritance. Most of the time what we know is that it is the man or the boy, the male figure that inherits from the father. That the woman or the girl is restricted from such inheritance.
You see, this is the tradition.
So now just you see, people practice certain things over time, but when the right time comes, with correct information, such is bound to change. And that's the picture I'm presenting from Numbers.
Okay.
A particular family, the man in the Bible is called Zelophehad. He had 5 daughters. When he died, it appeared as if those daughters were not going to inherit from their father. But then the daughters summed up courage and said, let's approach the man of God. Like you go to the court of law and say, give me justice. They approached the man of God and said, this is our case. Our father died, and he did not die in rebellion. He actually died serving God faithfully and was part of the Commonwealth of Israel, and therefore as the offspring of our father, we deserve some kind of inheritance. But the culture, the practice then, they thought it was just the male figure that should inherit. But then Moses, you know what, Moses was taken aback by this thing, and he did not just move based on sentiment and what was already practiced. He took the matter to God and inquired, what should I do
in a case like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the dramatic response of God changed the situation. That the daughters of Zelophehad are right, give them their possession. So you see, prior to that particular period in the history of Israel, it would appear as if those girls were not going to get any inheritance from their father. But when they were courageous enough to stand for their rights and took the matter to the man of God, the man of God sought the face of God, and God gave a ruling. And that is the situation. And we go back to the Quran. In the same surah that I mentioned earlier, Al-Nisa, the 4th chapter in the Quran, it also presents how inheritances are distributed. What percentage, what quota, but nobody is excluded. be you a man or a woman, a boy or a girl, nobody is excluded.
No.
Certain prerequisites are provided, criteria presented as to how it should be done. If the person in question is still a child, grown up, how the inheritance should be administered. So taking that situation from the Bible and the Quran and now relating it to a situation on the ground, knowing fully well that even though yes, people have their traditional practices, but most of the time people would also consult the Bible and the Quran to get those matters resolved. Over time, several things have changed. The laws of the land, they are now there. You have the Three Gender Act that came into existence, presenting the woman as being rightfully placed to also inherit. So, looking at the picture of, say, women have been disadvantaged, girls have been disadvantaged, yes, but that was in the past. Well, now they too have a right to whatever.
Yes, it was like that before, but it is still continuing in some cases.
Well, that is because it has not come to the limelight.
Now, what I want to ask,
it requires a lot of advocacy, a lot of education for people to understand that they have these rights.
Yeah. Now, what I want to ask is that even these elders, these religious elders, these things that we are saying, they were there over decades, over centuries, since the formation of these books. But yet it was not something of great concern.
So that is why enlightenment is very important. The more enlightened a society, because let me tell you something. Naturally, people are selfish. Naturally, everybody would want to have everything for himself.
Yeah.
But the more people are exposed, the more there is enlightenment, education is done, people get to know and they demand their rights.
But is it a form of discrimination, in a sense that sometimes women tend to be marginalized, or is it the tradition that is bringing this discrimination?
Well, it's a mixture of several factors. But I want to pinpoint the fact that enlightenment plays a lot of role in opening up the space for people. It will interest you to know that even some men feel discriminated against. Of course, we know the picture for the woman is worse. In fact, somebody has said, I take it from the country manager of Christian in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
She said, the face of poverty and marginalization in the country is the face of a woman. That poverty and marginalization, they have the face of a woman. So in essence, what was she trying to say? That when we talk about all of the negativities in terms of discrimination, yes, people who are exposed, more exposed to the dangers of poverty and marginalization, women experience more of it. You take the statistics, looking at the fact that most of those who are pregnant are under 18. There is forced marriage, and so many things happen.
So that is the
But the point, the fact of the matter is, it's not that the laws tolerate these things. People in their little corners would want it to happen that way, but with the laws, with the religious prescriptions, we can change the picture. We can turn things around for our women and girls that have been marginalized, because poverty, for instance, was not ordained by God. Discrimination, making the woman or the girl feeling inferior, it was not ordained by God. We created the atmosphere for that. Male chauvinism, the man feeling so much as a macho man that is superior to the woman. There are role differentials, no doubt about that. But you also have a responsibility. If you go to, I think 1 Timothy 5:8, it tells you that the husband who does not take care of his family is worse than an infidel. And if you go to Al-Nisa 4:34, it tells you that the man is the protector and the maintainer of the wife. So a lot of responsibility is given to, let's take the context of the family. The husband in the house has tremendous responsibility. In fact, in 1 Peter 3:7, we are told that as the man in the house, you're supposed to dwell with your wife in wisdom, and you must honor your wife so that your prayer is not hindered. So many of people don't know about that. So at times maltreatment is meted to the wife.
Yeah.
But even in terms of your relationship with God, God expects you to so handle your wife with such care that if you're not careful, your prayer might be hindered based on your relationship with your wife and the people that you have to take care of in your house. So, as far as God is concerned,
Yeah,
the picture, the picture of gender justice is paramount before God.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, societies over time have presented a different picture. But side-by-side movement is here.
Now, the same religion that is helping to guide these people, I think there are areas there where the tradition tends to overshadow, as I said earlier on, like discriminating man completely from woman. Now, in the case of the dress code in present days of our Muslim young ladies, they have this hijab, the veil, as you call it. That dress code alone, it's not part of the Bible. It's not neither in the Quran.
No,
but the tradition of
hold on,
your identity in a safe or spiritual manner. I think people have bring this style of dressing into the religion. So you see, tradition is still working, whether negatively or positively. But
no. Let's be careful. But let's be careful about that area. Let's be careful about that area. In Islam, well, I have a background in Islam. I used to be a Muslim before I became a Christian. And I am
tested both sides.
Yes. The veil is something prescribed in the Quran.
Okay.
Yes, it is prescribed. But it is how. The question is, how do you do it? You want to ask, what was the practice at the time of the Prophet of Islam? What was the practice? And what do we see happening now? Remember when we had the press conference, somebody came up with that issue and I was saying, let us talk about it, let's negotiate, let's discuss. Because sometime in the past, even though Islam has existed for several years in Sierra Leone, we were not fussy about hijab. Recently, it has come to the fore, which means that people have considered in terms of their research and said, we need to bring this on board. But for me, the question is, how do we do it? What was the practice that used to obtain in the days of the Prophet of Islam? If you go to the 24th chapter of the Quran, verse 31, it talks about that veil. If you go to the 33rd chapter of the Quran, verse 59, it talks about that veil again. There are several instances in the Quran, and if you take time to look at the hadith of the Prophet, it's called the Sunnah of the Prophet, there's this story about a blind man coming to visit the Prophet of Islam.
Yeah.
And the wife of the Prophet was not covered. She was not in veil. And the Prophet told his wife, go cover. And the wife was saying, but the man is blind. And the Prophet said, no, even though he's blind, because he's a man and he's coming to our presence, you need to protect yourself. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But again, it's about how to do it, because let's start with the schools.
Okay.
If you say you are attending a Christian school, it has implications if you're a Muslim. Vice versa. If you say you are attending a Muslim school and you're a Christian, it has implications, because each school has its own ethos. It has its own criteria in terms of dress code. And outside the schools, you go to, say, the workplace. The corporate world has got its own code.
Yeah.
So now it's about negotiating the terms. You are part of the system.
Yeah.
For now, the rules are saying this is not permitted. But you are convinced about your faith to say, I want this to happen. You don't confront. You don't do it forcefully. You negotiate. You sit and talk about it.
But again, Rev, do Christians use veil?
No. In our modern practice, no. The the church will tell you that, well, it's not the dispensation of grace is not a license to do anything stupid or funny, but that is not enforced.
They will tell you to cover your hair.
Yes, they will tell you.
Especially the women.
Yes.
When you go into church, you cover your
In
hair.
in some denominations, in others, as long as you are decently cladded, nobody bothers with you about your hairstyle, whether your head is covered or not. As long as your hairstyle is not outlandish, you behave within. Paul was saying in 1 Corinthians 14:40, he was saying, "Let everything be done decently and in order."
Yeah.
So you have that kind of injunction that relates to your belief and how seriously you take the word of God. And for some people, they start in a certain way, but over time, as they get the teachings and their faith increases, they begin to do certain things. Nobody even tells them.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's the.
So I know the issue of compulsion probably is what you're focusing on. We don't force people.
No.
We teach them the word. We preach the word to them and ask, and by their conviction, they do certain things in line with the will of God.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a fine one, Rev Kagbo. Thank you very much for enlightening us about how our dress code, when talking about tradition and the religion and the gender equality. But I want to assure my viewers and listeners out there that the dress code have nothing to do with gender-based or discrimination. I believe everybody is carrying a certain belief, and that dress code is not supposed to hinder our progress in our society. Let it be decent and let it be presentable. So if some people decide to use hijab, I think it's the dress code, it is decent, you go ahead with it. If it's not your culture, it's not your tradition to use it, but you are well dressed, you're presentable, you can go everywhere you want to go. Don't forget that the program is The Views, coming to you live from Freetown Television Network on channel 35 and on Freetown Radio 90.4 FM. Today, the first day of the month of April 2019, and The Views comes to you live Monday to Friday at 12 midday. We go for a very short break, and when we come back, we continue with more stories and more information inside the program. Do stay with us.
Please, you ask me the lower me not comfortable with. I will cover yourself in the nobody don't know that you do the back. Madam, they make me not comfortable because for security reasons.
VFX footage.
Today waka just begin for me to better tomorrow. For as long as we dey keep for work on we self, we go most bring out we best. We own best in how we can come near the people and things them we matter to we. We dey look for experience where they connect we any side and they give we sense altered.
Orange, the most reliable network na Salon today. Don't put plenty money per network coverage, data service, and plenty other thing there. We don't come near you now. So you and you family them go enjoy the best telecom service at the highest standard. And beside you then a Salon.
Orange.
You know they? No. When you tell me I go join this local SIM couple, for what I download this thing, and I won't be able to get access to my account. And I want to money, so now we can.
Okay, so now this one is really simple. You don't go to the bank?
No.
Okay. Now go to the bank, let them update your account. Make sure say your telephone number they all know, because now the telephone number will make you get access to your local SIM couple.
Okay.
Where you they go? Make sure say you carry your bank ID card and also the mobile phone where you they use, because now there we go download the app for you. Okay, so now you will not get account with me. What you need to wait for? Go on any of we branch and open account so you self go enjoy the local SIM couple.
Local commercial bank don't make life better for we all.
VFX footage. VFX footage. VFX footage. VFX footage. VFX footage.
All right, welcome back as you are watching the views live from Freetown Television Network on channel 35 and also on Freetown Radio 90.4 FM. Well, when I started the program earlier on, I brought in a breaking news, and I know viewers and listeners out there are ready to see it. Yes, it's very, very interesting. It's very good to see that historical monument, the cotton tree, is going to be relocated from the CBD, that's the Central Business District, and we are taking it up to the Upgon roundabout. That's a very good one for the mayoress of the city of Freetown. Well, we continue as we are talking about gender balance, gender-based equality, as side-by-side movement is coming together to see the equality in gender performance within our society. But yes, still there is one more area that sometimes disturb or bring riot into my brain when we talk about this tradition incorporating into our religion. You have some people, Rev, you have been seeing movements around town. You saw people how they do things, but this veil, as we were talking about the veil earlier on, some people, I don't know if it's the right way to do things, or they do it according to what they want to do. You can see some women, they cover the whole face, they cover their hands with gloves, they cover their feet with socks, and you cannot even see a pinch of their body. Is that also presentable? Is that also the tradition into the religion? Is it so acceptable? How do we come about using some of this kind of presentation or dress code? Cover your head down to your toes, in the sake of religion.
What I tell you, I would say to everybody, whatever faith you practice, make conscious efforts to be educated in your faith. Know the religion, and that will help you in terms of the practices. For goodness sake, in this day and age, security is of essence for every nation. If I cannot identify you, at least even by seeing your eyes or your face, how do I know who is going and what that person is, where he's going, and what he or she is going to do? So that's you have different forms of it. Of course, the Islamic scholars, they will find time to discuss all of that. But the total, complete
coverage of the entire body.
Nobody knows who is in there and even what is passing. That for me is where my challenge is.
Okay.
But if somebody chooses on account of a faith to put on the hijab and does it moderately, well and good. I don't have any problem with that. But for me, it's that one that covers the entire person. And when we know that we have a lot of threats going around, you want to be assured of your security, community-wise, as a nation, etc. And therefore, it comes with what? An appeal to everybody concerned. Whatever it is that is going to jeopardize the security of the nation, let's think twice about adopting it. But I'm not going to bother anybody about putting on hijab, because if you look in the Quran, it talks about it.
Okay.
And when I started, what I was saying, it's about the question now is, how do you effect that?
And to be frank
to
enough,
ensure that it is done properly.
Yeah. To be frank enough, I like when I see these girls neatly dressed with that hijab. To be frank enough, I like it.
Okay.
I like seeing that presentation, though it doesn't speak the mind, because some people say they are hiding their faith under it. But I just like that kind of.
That is another thing altogether.
Yes.
Somebody said you cannot tell the mind's construction on the face.
Oh yeah.
So it is up to the person
to show yourself.
Yes, it's up to the person. I'm not going to judge you.
No.
If you choose to put on your hijab, I'm not going to judge you to say, I don't know what is in the heart.
Okay.
That is left with God.
Good.
But as far as if you look at the outward practice, the person is making efforts to work in terms of the dictate of his religion or religion. So no problem with that.
Okay, just that let's do it moderately.
Definitely.
Because, in the course of time, maybe anything, there can be casualties. We need to identify who is this person for the necessary help.
Yes.
But if you are covered,
if you are completely covered and you cannot be identified, there's a serious problem.
There is more serious problem. So we have to do things moderately and see how we can educate our people more in their code of dressing, comparing it to religion and the rest of it. But yet it's a good one. And Rev, now I believe there is a brief summary, a brief plan about how side by side is going to help when we're talking about gender equality. Can you give us such a brief note on that?
Looking at what is obtained in other countries where it has been established, of course, most of the time they work on awareness raising, they do advocacy, and there are activities that are planned around that. It could be seminars, workshop. So it's the same approach that we expect to see in Sierra Leone, and it has started out
bringing different faith
leaders, Islam,
together.
Christianity. In fact, during the launch, we did not only bring together faith leaders, we also brought together traditional healers and traditional authorities.
Okay.
That we want everybody to be on board. It's a national issue. For most of the time, you have, like you were trying to present the issue about authorities being the people who violate the rights of others, especially the other sex. So you want to bring everybody to the same table. Let's understand each other. Let's provide the platform to discuss the issues. I like this expression. I use it most of the time. It is better to Jojo than to war. Let's talk. Bring the cards on the table. Let's discuss the issues. As we discuss, people become enlightened, and bad practices are changed. We're not saying it's going to change overnight, but now the platform exists that brings together every shade of opinion, especially people of faith, people who believe in God. There could be differences in terms of the expressions of their faith, but those different faith expressions are indicative of the fact that we all came from one source. God created all of us, and there is a purpose for such creation, and therefore by our activities we should exhibit to all and sundry that this was why God created us, for us to live together in harmony, for us to ensure that there is peaceful coexistence that nobody takes advantage of the other person because of his or her sex.
Now, it's good, but what would I say? How is side by side going to scale the impact created after going with this workshop, seminars? How are you going to measure the impact that side by side is creating?
Now, I know you have a document that presents the strategic plan.
Yes.
And it gives you ways of evaluating, and at the end of the day, we're going to assess what is happening, and using existing scientific means to say, yes, we said we were going to do X, Y, Z, we did it, and this is the outcome, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're going to expect such reports at the end of the day. But this is an ongoing process, and we keep perfecting the process as we go along. For Sierra Leone, this is the beginning.
Yeah.
But then we are asking that we get the full support of everybody concerned, because gender justice should not just be left in the hands of certain practitioners. Even as faith leaders, you can come on board because you have a lot to offer. You have been preaching to millions of people.
Yes.
And there is so much respect for you because you stand in the stead of God. Now, if you take this challenge and say gender injustice must end, especially the things that are done to women and girls, then it can go a long way, because people they have so much trust and confidence in their faith leaders. In fact, a recent Afrobarometer report has a startling revelation that people still hold their faith leaders in the highest of esteem.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
the recent Afrobarometer report stated that. So you see, that is what faith leaders are coming with to the table. That there is this huge, you call it humongous regard that people have for faith leaders.
Yeah,
so if that same faith leader comes to talk to you about these issues,
must be,
then you know
impact.
people are going to listen. The impact is going to be great. Just a quick reference to the abortion bill that was going to be passed into law. It, save for the intervention of faith leaders, that was a done deal. But when the faith leaders came in and said, you know what, sufficient consultation was not done. Let us give our views on the matter. The president listened, and they took it back to Parliament, and it was agreed that part of the referendum for the constitution, the reviewed constitution, that issue will be brought on board for people to make a decision. That tells you faith leaders can achieve so many things when they come together, and if they are determined to do that.
Yes. That's the fine one. Well, it's a positive call for concern, as our faith leaders are still holding certain things to ransom, and they are going to at least help us clear the way. Because we believe in you, faith leaders, for somebody to be a common person and climbing up the ladder bit by bit, step by step, stone by stone, until becoming a religious leader, a faith leader, is not an easy task. So when you are a faith leader, people tend to put their hope and trust upon you. So you, as faith leaders, are supposed to be role models. And of course, that is going to help our democracy. Democracy is for the people, with the people, by the people. Now we're talking about gender equality. And for sure, Reverend Kagbo is also a part of the National Commission for Democracy. And there we are going to scale. We are going to look at how gender equality is going to help our democracy. And Rev, how do you think gender equality can help our democracy?
Of course, when you talk about the tenets of democratic good governance, gender parity is a key element. So it fits into our democracy as well. And it's part of those things that are serving as challenges to the realization of what you call democratic good governance. And the faith leaders come in to provide such support. It is in the direction of promoting democratic good governance. And we at NCD, we support the idea wholeheartedly, because it makes our work very easy. We do democratic promotion through civic education. And when the faith leaders come together through such a movement to tell the world, well, in particular Sierra Leone, that we can coexist, we can live side by side without rancor, they are helping to send out our messages. And that is something we definitely support, and we are in fact asking for more people to provide support for this, because when you tune to television or the radio, almost on a daily basis, the news is bleak about what happens in terms of gender justice. Women are raped, minors are raped, several terrible things are happening, gender-based violence, etc., etc. It is a cause for concern, and therefore it warrants everybody coming on board, including faith leaders. Even with that movement, we know that faith leaders can achieve so many things, and we endorse what they're doing, and where it is necessary, we can also come in to provide direct support to their work.
The job of National Commission for Democracy, is it a part of this side-by-side project? It seems as if maybe side-by-side has drawn their project from the National Commission for Democracy, or is there any other thing that makes the difference?
Now, you have different players in the democratic landscape. NCD is one of them, as a leading good governance institution created by an act of parliament. What they're doing is to complement what we are doing. It's not like somebody is taking from this other person, one person is taking. No, the work is so huge that no one institution or one person can do it, and therefore we encourage such complementary work. Now, with the side-by-side movement, the initiative actually came from Christian Aid. Christian Aid is a charity that operates in different countries of the world, including the UK.
Yeah.
And they've established different movements in other parts of the world. We are now like joining the fold to say it's a good idea. And what happened, in going back to the background, CSL, that is Christian Aid, when they came up with the idea, they approached the Council of Churches. This is the concept, this is the idea. We want to bring faith leaders together. And CCSL served as the organizing body, invited all faith-based institutions, Islam, Christianity, traditional authorities, traditional healers, and they started meeting. And a steering committee was formed. Like I told you, I have been serving as head of the strategic communication team of the steering committee. And that is why I've been moving around on behalf of the side-by-side faith movement to talk about what they're doing. And of course, I also work for the National Commission for Democracy. And that is a big democratic issue in terms of gender equality, which we as an institution, we've been promoting, talking about, in addition to all the good governance issues. So there is nothing like conflict in terms of what is happening. There is no tension in that. We need more people to come on board. And that in fact makes the work of NCD very easy, because you have more people understanding what the issues are. And when once that is done, it means our work, our goal is realized. Because we too are moving out, educating the masses that in democracy, there should be no discrimination. Of course, taking our cue from the Constitution itself, where we have our mandate, because mostly what we do at NCD is to raise awareness on the objectives and principles of the Constitution as the fundamental law of the land. And gender parity, non-discrimination, is a key element in our Constitution. And so if another institution comes up to ensure that is realized, they have our full support. And you see, interestingly, I work for NCD and I'm also a pastor. So I'm like involved, involved in everything that is happening. So it's such a good idea, and we continue to encourage more people to come on board. You have more of such initiative, it makes the work very easy, and it takes the message down to the last man, and that is what we want to see happen in our country. Everybody should have the message, what it entails to be in a democracy. Now, from the context of gender justice, or what you call gender parity, where everybody is seen as being equal, especially before the law, be it a man or a woman. I cannot say because she's a woman, therefore, as a man, I have the right to do anything to her. No. The laws are there, and the holy books are also dictating otherwise. And therefore, we must do our best to change the narrative and ensure the right thing is done.
Yeah, that's for the sake of democracy. You have to do the best things. You have to make sure the right thing is done. I think that's a very solid message there for those who are thinking that democracy is yet on the surface. Still, it is more than the surface for now, and it is going to some levels, I believe, away from promoting gender equality. And what else can we tip in for National Commission for Democracy?
Well, we've been doing so many things.
Yes.
And I just want to remind our viewers and listeners that if you hear the national pledge,
yeah,
that's the baby of NCD.
Oh.
And we continue to promote, in our work, we continue to promote the national symbols.
Okay.
And if you move around in different communities, we move in with outreach activities, and we disseminate messages on corruption, the fight against corruption, which relates to transparency and accountability. We disseminate messages on lawlessness, tribalism and things like that, so that we can have a society that is cohesive. Currently, we are working on publishing a report of a survey that we conducted in 2017. An era was ending. We needed to assess our democracy, so that, yes, with this new era, once that result is published, we have a benchmark that we can always use to compare to what is happening now, so that when we do the next survey, it becomes easy for us, for people to
compare,
have a picture, yes, a comparative analysis of what our democracy is in the last, or the old and in the new. So that is in the works now. We did the validation in February, and we're fine-tuning, so that I believe before the end of this month, it should be out to the public to present a picture of the state of democracy in Sierra Leone. We do several other things. Like I said to you, in terms of our mandate, we are there to raise awareness on the Constitution, in terms of the principles and objectives as a fundamental law.
Yes.
We educate the masses to defend the Constitution against all forms of abuse and violation, and we do programs in relation to that. In fact, we have our fortnightly television program, and we also do. We're going to revive our regional radio programs, so that the good governance messages are taken to the people.
And I believe Freetown Television Network and Freetown Radio is going to be part of that.
We need your full support.
Yes, yes.
The truth of the matter is, we are challenged when it comes to finances. The work that we did for the election period, we actually got support from UNDP, and we have been challenging in terms of our subvention. We're not crying down government. We know the demands are too many, but we still appeal that we get our full support so that we can do this work, because the work of NCD is so vital that when you succeed in reorientating the minds of the people, it becomes easy in other sectors.
Yeah.
People, for instance, can pay their tax after we've done our tax education. People can go and vote peacefully after we've done our voter education. People can behave very well in society after our political education or education in democracy. People will observe the human rights of others, understand what their rights and responsibilities are after we would have done our human rights education. We do so many things,
yes,
and it makes the governance architecture very easy when you provide that kind of leverage for NCD to ensure it goes out to the masses with key messages. And we need everybody to come on board. We need your support as a television station, even as we need the support of all donor agencies to help cushion the effect, so that where there is any deficit in terms of what government provides, we can always fill in that gap and ensure that there is no vacuum in the work of the National Commission for Democracy.
Yes, that was a very strong message there from the National Commission for Democracy. And I still believe that you people have to do more sensitization for people to be aware of the Commission for Democracy, as it's an existing one and it's there. It's trying to help in the democratic process of our country. Well, viewers out there and listeners of 90.4 FM, I think we are about to bring the curtain down on today's edition of the program The Views. Well, before bringing down the curtain, I just want to recall you that today is the first day of April 2019, and all along the year since I was a boy, since I was born, this day they call it April Fool, April Fool, April Fool. So yes, now the concept of the day is that during the 16th century, the 1st of April used to be celebrated as New Year's Day. But then after the Gregorian calendar came to existence, they transferred the 1st of April to the 1st of January. So now we have on the 1st of January as New Year's Day. But then during those days, people still used to continue celebrating New Year's Day on the 1st of April. So those that already have the idea that New Year's Day is now on the 1st of January, we are mocking those that are celebrating New Year's Day on the 1st of April. So they're taking them to be fools. So there you get the April Fool, which is the 1st of April. Well, the cotton tree is where it is. It is an historical symbol for Freetown. It's not going to be relocated. It's just that I wanted to bring your minds together about our own style of bringing you April Fool from Freetown Television Network and Freetown Radio. I've been your host, your presenter, Claude Ateo Robert, wishing you all a pleasant day, and I do want you to stay with us as there are many more interesting and important programs on the pipeline for you. Thanks to my producer, Maury Koroma, not forgetting my general producer, that's you, General Focus, Mr. Usman Ture Beniza, a happy one for you in the control room, and my camera operator and editor, that's you, Brother Abdul Malik. I want to thank you all, and thanks to my studio guest, Dr. Kagbo, for coming in and giving us this particular education about side-by-side and the Commission for Democracy. Till we meet again in another edition of the program, The Views, I want to wish you well and a happy 1st of April. April Fool. Goodbye. I'm Claude Ateo Roberts. Have a nice day.
This amount of family.
VFX
You know what?
footage. VFX footage. VFX footage. VFX footage.